9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Say his name and he appears. I believe it said.
What's good, beautiful people? It's Monday, August 17th, and if you're hearing the sound of my voice, that means you're locked in with the mayor. It is the Monday Night Mayor Recap. We got a lot to discuss, and if I sound a little stuffy, it's a little under the weather. Just got back from Atlanta late last night, but we're going to push through for y'all because we got some cliffhangers to Monday Night Raw, and I have so many questions I want to go over with you guys. We open up Monday Night Raw in the women's division, which we now know is getting heated up with the return of Stephanie McCurr as well as Becky Lynch. Stephanie McCurr opened up the show seemingly to just call her shot. She wants her title back. The Judgment Day took her out of action for months, and she's ready to reclaim the throne. I will say she unjustly lost at WrestleMania in a very short match. She comes out, and what I love about this is that we're not just giving Stephanie vignette time. She's getting legit promo time in front of live audiences, and you can see her confidence building every single week. Short and sweet says she can talk about everything like they want to, but she says she's here. Come fight. Of course, Liv Morgan coming flank to the ring wants to say her piece about the promo a week ago where they discredited her 100-day title reign. Of course, she's only defended the title one time against Io Sky. Very real stat there. And she says, like, hey, you can try to discredit all my acolytes all you want, but I'm on my way to becoming the longest reigning women's world champion. There's nothing you can do about it. Action ensues. Stephanie gets the upper hand on Judgment Day for a little bit until the numbers game is just too much with Raquel as well as Roxy being there, which prompts Becky Lynch to come out, who is kind of like your anti-hero here. I'm still trying to figure out the trajectory for Becky. Not a heel, tweener, babyface, but she's just here because she feels like the women's world title picture needs her, which is an interesting hill to die on. I'm interested to see her play into this role and this character more of like the division needs me. It's kind of like what Roman does. Like, hey, like the show needs me. The ratings need me. Like, you guys aren't doing your job. So I'm interested to see that play out a little bit more. They clear the ring enough for the heroes to stand tall, get the upper hand. And then you have kind of the back and forth with Becky and Stephanie just going here, saying, get out of my way. I like what we did backstage after this, later on in the evening. Stephanie saying she gets to have her first match since returning next week against Roxanne. And she's being very clear that this is personal, that she plans on taking out each woman in the Judgment Day until she has Liv alone. And she'll be in action against Roxy next week. Becky comes to intervene. She says, hey, I don't need your help. Didn't ask for your help. And Becky saying, I'm not there to help you. I'm here for the women's title. I'm here for Liv. And she says, you know what? You don't need my help. Let's see how it works out with you next week when the numbers game is going to be a problem. And let's see how the Judgment Day plays fair and by the rules. And she makes it very clear to Stephanie that when it comes to women's world title, that Becky is her biggest problem. So whether we get this match at Saturday night's main event or if we keep pushing it down the line until we get to October and Money in the Bank, going to be a great triple threat. And I'm interested to see how they continue to build the storyline. I would like to see Becky have more segments where she talks about why she feels entitled to the women's world title and being the face of that division. I think that's the story that I'm looking to see more of. But it certainly gives Liv a lot to do moving forward. First action tonight. And dare I say, we've had there might be at least 3 match of the year candidates, or at least they should be in consideration once 2026 is over, just from this Monday Night Raw. First is Jevon Evans and JD McDonaugh. Brilliant. Brilliant contrast of styles. First time these two men ever met in the squared circle. And I think if you need somebody to compete on Monday Night Raw every single week, it's going to be JD or Jevon. Jevon's been putting together a string of wins. I would love to see him get back into the IC title picture. But this was a great match where Dom was ringside and the interference and distractions were just not enough. I love the transition from Jevon seemingly going for a super poison Rana to missing JD, looking to get that moonsault, lands on his feet, but just Jevon evades it into the OG cutter. There was a lot of moments in this match that were like, oh my God, these two guys are putting on a heater. And if you didn't watch this match in full, watch it without the volume and just take it all in, because these two might be wrestling soulmates. I loved what I saw. I want to see it again. Jevon picked up the win. And then, of course, like we've seen in recent weeks, he gets attacked from Big Cass from behind. Only this time he got enough licks in to kind of get the upper hand until Big Cass was able to use his size. Obviously, fresher person, not fighting a match tonight. To where he was able to lay Jevon out. Jevon gets the microphone in true Rocky fashion and says, Cass, that's all you got. And Cass comes back for more. Jevon gets enough of overhand with a suicide dive onto Cass. And this is where Dom ain't shit, man. I love how Dom is just like in everything, but he's preparing for like probably one of the larger matches of his career with Triple Mania next month. But attacks Jevon, throws him into the post, which allows Big Cass to get the upper hand and can just obliterate Jevon. So, like, I'm pretty sure that receipt's going to come. I expect to see Dom versus Jevon next week. But very interesting that Dom was able to just help Big Cass get a leg up like he needed that. So, Big Cass still hasn't wrestled a match on Monday Night Raw yet. Clearly a part of the roster. Definitely not really believing the whole, like, this isn't personal thing. He's only attacked, Jevon most consecutively, and I think Dragon Lee. So I would like to see Big Cass in a match. I'd like to see what the presentations will look like this time around. I don't know what the holdup is, but we're going to clearly do this David versus Goliath thing with Jevon and Cass at some point. And I want to know what the payoff is for either superstar. If Cass wins, like, he's the larger competitor against Jevon. We've seen Jevon in Open many times. But if you continue this hot streak that Jevon's had and he gets kind of a sneak up win against Cass, like, what is that? Where does he go from there? After all these vignettes, after all these things we've done to help build his profile. Next action. Number one contendership match for Roman's world title, the tournament for the Luchadors. Rey Fenix, they're taking on El Fiscal. Very solid match, and I think it's a good way. Like I've mentioned many times, I like that we've been able to feature these luchadors, but this is kind of like a reintroduction to Rey Fenix to me as well. And I think it's important because we forget that Rey Fenix debuted at WrestleMania in Vegas year one. Really big deal that he did, but his presentation hasn't been the greatest comparative to his brother Penta. So I would like to see, it's good to see Rey Fenix get the amazing intro, showcasing the AAA Cruiserweight Championship. And it's really good presentation for him. We know he'll be competing again next week. He did pick up the win against El Fiscal. And I'm liking that they were able to just continue to feature these luchadors. Very cool story about El Fiscal, whose father, Abismo Negro, made his WWE debut on WWF Raw's War 29 years ago. And now the son, El Fiscal, debuted tonight on Netflix. So great story ties here. I like that we're telling about the culture and history of these luchadors and not just having them wrestle in throwaway matches on Monday Night Raw. And it allows Triple H to feel like a really, really big deal. Because quietly as kept, it's one of the best programs of the week amongst any wrestling brand. So very cool stuff seeing history be made. Rey Fenix picked up the win, and he will go on next week in the tournament. Now, a couple other things happen backstage, which funny stuff. Of course, you see the Usos walking with Solo, being, let's just call it what it is, being like complete assholes to their younger brother, which is beautiful to see. Doing the finger guns, saying like, let's walk. And we've seen how this goes before with the bloodline ceremonies of like, hey, you have to acknowledge the tribal chief now. So, of course, that was going to be the main event of the show, but very cool to see their transitions throughout Monday Night Raw. This is probably one of the better Raws that I've seen in the past few months that's coming back to Monday Nightmare. And honestly, the way they're telling the stories of each superstar has been pretty thorough. Also in this transition, we saw a Lyra Valkyria promo talking about how she plans to get back to the Intercontinental title and how she's pretty much disparaging Soul, thinking that she can just cut the line when she built the title ahead of their match. Honestly, if I can, I want to make a call here. Lyra Valkyria's character work has been the best thing across pro wrestling that is not Blackheart Leo Rush. I feel like it deserves more of a spotlight outside of the social media sphere and vignettes where she can really tell this story on screen. We're still referencing Bayley. And I think as long as you're not living under a rock, you know that those contract negotiations are still ongoing. So they're still lightly referencing Bayley and how she defeated Bayley at Saturday night's main event. But I think Valkyria deserves more time to really champion this character on screen, whether that's getting a mic in front of a live audience on Monday Night Raw on Netflix. I think she deserves that. And I think we should see more of that because she's doing excellent work here. The match with Sol Ruca, this is another one that I feel was a match of the year contender just because you saw the contrast in styles, you saw the near falls, you saw the counters that Valkyria's putting on. And I think this character is going to allow her to be a little bit more rugged with her in-ring style that you saw, like the springboard miss from Sol into the neckbreaker onto the ropes, pretty much hitting nothing but net, the diving scissor kick. Valkyria showed why she's one of the strongest women's wrestlers on the roster. Unfortunately, she didn't pick up the win. I really disagree with that. So Ruca picks up the win, and now looking again to Raquel for a rematch, apparently. But I feel like we missed the mark with Lyra here. And obviously, Lyra doing the whole heel versus heel thing with Raquel is interesting to me. I don't want to see Sol continue to run it back with Raquel. I want to see more challengers for Big Mommy Cool. And why not Lyra, who was the inaugural? I hope we get to that. I hope this match isn't something that just sends her to the back of the line, that we get a triple threat. Because this match, I mean, coming off of Jevon and JD, and of course what we saw in the main event, beautiful women's wrestling. And I feel like with these two young ladies on the Raw brand, there's a lot that we can get out of them in this Intercontinental Women's Division. So I hope they don't dumb it down with the whole, like, hey, we need a traditional baby face versus heel. Like, no, like, let Lyra cook. Let Lyra cook. Because, like, both women had a great showcase, but you really saw, to me, what Lyra was all about when given the time to work and showcase the aggressiveness that this character has. And Sol's some aggressive too, but to me, I feel like Lyra deserved the dub a little bit more there, and she didn't get it. We go backstage to the Vision. I'm sorry, trying to get through this. We go backstage to the Vision talking about how they run the show. You see Logan Paul running his mouth. Maxine and Austin can't get out of each other's face. Just your regular weekly Vision segment. That's the same thing. And then Kathy she goes over to Braun and says, "You've been a little bit quiet. What do you have to say about Oba?" He says, "You know what? I'll say it to his face." He goes to the ring, calls out Oba, gets Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, who hasn't really had any interaction with the Vision. I think he's letting Maxine run that faction now. He tells Braun, everybody's been wondering this question. And he says, "Paul, why don't you tell me what you think about who's the next big thing in WWE?" And Paul is just trying to mediate all this as a wise man and as an oracle and a former advocate. Not really saying that he's advocating for Braun Breaker. I think Braun Breaker is still under the assumption that Paul Heyman is the oracle to the Vision. I think Paul Heyman's been pretty clear. He's hands off right now. Oba hits the ring. And if anything you got out of this segment, Oba has some comedic chops. I don't know when it's going to happen. Somewhere down the line, comedic chops. His Braun Breaker impression, spot on. So much so, I'm pretty sure Braun did that smirk to try to not crack on live television and laugh because he sounded just like Braun Breaker. Hilarious. So maybe down the road, you'll see some comedic Oba. Not Danhausen. Don't do it. No, keep it away. But this war of words between both men, Oba pretty much staring down Braun and be like, hey, the fans say it. Brock Lesnar says it. And more importantly, your boy says it. So who do you think the next big thing is? What are you going to do about it? And then Braun challenges Oba to a fight right then and there where these words left a silence throughout the crowd, including on Braun Breaker. Paul says, you take another step towards Obafemi, you take a permanent step away from me. Which Braun was like, word? That's what we doing? And then here comes the sales pitch. Here comes the fight promoter here, and Paul Heyman, saying that he already went to Adam Pearce to make the match official, that we don't give things away on television in front of the fans, no matter how much they want it, that you recognize things of this magnitude, and now you have your Sunday night main event in Atlanta in just a few weeks. Obafemi taking on Braun Breaker, and the winner will truly determine who is the next big thing in WWE. Who's got next? Shout out to the former podcast with my co-host, Jacob and Lawrence. Brilliant to sell it. I like that you have Obafemi and Paul in this orbit that they can't seem to get out of with each other. I'm hoping that the thing is not that Oba becomes a Paul Heyman guy, because he clearly doesn't need it. He doesn't need the promo work, doesn't need anybody to sell his persona and character. But what we're doing with having Paul in the middle is having Braun Breaker trying to reevaluate himself, reevaluate who he was ordained to be when he got called up originally, and really question Paul's allegiance. But I think it's not in the sense that he would attack Paul, but in the sense that, like, damn, am I really that guy? I feel like I'm that guy, but other people don't feel like I'm that guy. So I got to show you that I'm that guy. Because when Paul shook Braun Breaker's hand and then shook Oba's hand, Braun Breaker was very taken aback. Like, oh, you believe he's the guy. There's mutual respect here, so that means you think I'm not. So, like, that little internal battle that's going on in Braun Breaker's mind, us seeing it play out without any words, I think that's the thing we're going to look to see. And it's going to show a different side of Braun Breaker that is hell-bent on destruction, hell-bent on proving his point. I don't put it past him to try to attack Oba before Sunday's night's main event, or even before the match, just to get a leg up. I think we're going to get some good out of here. And I think they, once again, caught lightning in a bottle with Braun and with Oba, and are giving him something to do to distract us as fans away from the fact that title opportunity is right there for the taking for him, whether it's CM Punk or Roman Reigns. So this is great. I'm interested in seeing it, and I'm hoping that eventually they do this on an even bigger platform than the main event, and do it at maybe Survivor Series. Maybe we get a cage match or something of that nature. Something with stipulations that really keeps these two in each other's orbit for the time being until we get the real title shot for Oba. Because what we're doing right here is we're playing musical chairs with Obafemi and making sure that he doesn't squash either Roman or CM Punk, because that's the only like reasonable outcome for either match, the way Oba is moving it through these streets right now. Number one contenders match tournament, Dragon Lee, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. Great match, great showcase to feature the luchadors on the brand. Dragon Lee already dedicated this tournament and his work to Rey Mysterio. He picked up a win against El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. And I like that we talked a little bit more about the styles in both these matches. I think I buried the lead earlier. I believe El Fiscal went for a tombstone pile driver, which is banned in Mexico. But like just teasing that and telling the story to luchadors, they did the same thing in this match, showing that there was a competitive spirit, not a lack of respect, but competitive spirit between both men, because they know what's hanging in the balance. And you get to see a more aggressive Dragon Lee looking for something to really hang his hat on in this division when he's not doing LWO stuff, when he's not doing tag team work with Rey Mysterio. And I would say Wagner Jr. shined in defeat, because he was featured against Ethan Page last year, and showcasing that, hey, these guys can wrestle on any brand under the WWE umbrella. So I believe our tournament goes as follows. Now that we have the semifinals booked, Penta taking on La Parka next week, and Dragon Lee taking on Rey Fenix, who wrestled earlier tonight. Sure to be a banger. I'm still sitting on the fence of saying, like, you do so much to keep the Lucha Bros away from each other. It should be a Lucha Bros final, but as a long-term viewer of WWE, I don't put it past the company to go with Dragon Lee versus Penta, unfortunately. And I'll say unfortunately, just because Rey Fenix is the AAA Cruiserweight champion right now. So they're featuring the belt there, but they might want to feature Dragon Lee even further. Now, we get to our main event of the night, in-ring wise. And like when I say in-ring, like all the in-ring action was crazy tonight. I know you guys are going to look at this recap and listen to what I'm saying, but go back and watch the matches tonight, because the matches tonight, chef's kiss. Best I've seen this entire summer. We're talking about front to end of Monday Night Raw. And this, at 51 years of age, talk about callbacks, talk about longevity. Rey Mysterio, by the end of 2026, has a match of the year candidate at 51 years of age. All facts. Chad Gable, in his first Intercontinental title defense, wanted to award Rey Mysterio with that, the greatest mask of all time. And if you remember the match with Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle and how we always reference that, how it was like so fast-paced and so nonstop, same thing. Probably a decade, probably 2 decades later at this juncture. But my God, the close calls, Rey Mysterio evading things just narrowly to get Chad on the one-ups, selling the knee injury just to get Chad lured in, the ankle lock being applied just for Rey to be able to get out of it and hit the 619. Oh my God, there's so many close calls in this match that you really believe that there's a chance that Rey Mysterio could upset Chad. And then the crowd in Buffalo, from my ears, were very much pro Mysterio because they thought, like, oh my God, he's going to do it again. He's going to defeat. He's going to be the underdog and defeat the person who is largely favored to win. And it was that type of match that I'm glad that despite the ankle lock being sold heavily and Chad tapping people out, that Rey being able to get a roll up and Chad being able to get a roll up in response to it to get the 3 count, I think it protected both superstars because it showed the heart of both superstars. It showed Chad had fighting champion spirit, getting a roll up over an absolute legend, WWE Hall of Famer. But also it didn't hurt Rey with tapping because Chad Sting has been tapping people out lately. The ankle lock was there, but Rey never wavered. And my God, if you're looking at any wrestling promotion through 2026 and this isn't a match that you have in your top 10, you're crazy. And I'm saying that August 17th. This was a match of the year contender. And Rey Mysterio at 51 years of age is still putting on bangers better than probably 50% of the roster, which is insane to say. Rey showed his ass tonight. Great match. Made Chad look like $1 million. Still look like $1 million himself, even in defeat. And the two hug it out, stand tall after the match, and continuing this trajectory of Chad Gable. And it feels very 90s to me when you have where the IC title is supposed to be your stepping stone into the world title picture. Rey taking the gesture of actually applying the belt to Chad's waist and then raising each other's arms together. It feels like Chad is destined for more sooner rather than later, if I'm being honest. And this feels like the 90s where the IC title meant so much that it's being featured in a workhorse fashion, but also that superstars, in Chad's case, luchadors, are acknowledging this man as like, hey, you got the juice now. So if I'm going to keep it real with y'all, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Gable and Money in the Bank and he gets close or wins that thing. Because I think it's a matter of time with how much work he's put into his health and his body, doing the work in AAA and showing that not only can he be reliable, but that he can be a main event player as well. Imagine like a Chad Gable and Punk match. Imagine a Chad Gable and Roman match. And it speaks volumes to like, yeah, it takes a long time in WWE system. We don't really crown younger stars as much as we should. But this is a perfect example of somebody that's did the work and deserves their moment, who's been here through the WWE through and through, been through all the different shows in the system and like working for their moment, never giving up. Like I would want to see it more, and I would want to see Chad get that more so than the LA Knight. That's just me as a Gable fan. And Tindale's already letting me know. Rey Mysterio refuses to age, and then thank God that Solo didn't fold. So that leads us to our final moment of the night, where the bloodline was to deliver Solo Sikoa to Roman Reigns. Roman enters the arena, comes to the ring with Jacob. Usos come to the ring, just complete assholes around their little brother doing the pew-pews, the finger guns, as they escort Solo to the ring. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what to expect from this. But this wasn't even like, hey, I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. This was a humiliation ritual. They went and played all Solo's old clips of him grading MFTs, bringing the Tongans in, being a thorn in the bloodline side. Tribal Compact, which was, I think it was the beginning of last year. Yeah, beginning of last year in January. Roman said 3 years ago. It definitely wasn't 3 years ago. It was the beginning of last year that we had the first debut episode of Netflix when that happened. And they just played how much Solo has done since leaving the family. And Roman says, you shouldn't even be looking me eye to eye right now. Like, why are you not begging me? So clearly he hasn't forgot the Battle of the Ulafala. What's crazy is in that moment, Jacob strikes Solo, hits him with the Tongan death grip, and didn't expect that to happen. I expected Solo just to join the family gracefully. And then Roman takes a beat from Solo and then actually ordains Jimmy and Jay with Black Ulafalas and say, hey, you're my main men. You can call a play, execute a play. Anybody disrespects you, they disrespect me. And Jacob looked kind of taken aback from that. But like, this kind of insults my intelligence and your intelligence as fans, because it was just like a month ago or so that Roman gave Jacob like the brown or bronze Ulafala. So we just forgot about that. Jacob got one first. Jacob was just ordained like a month and a half ago. So what are we talking about? By the way, there's something playing there with Jacob not feeling like he's getting his just deserve as maybe wanting to be right-hand man. Maybe not wanting to take orders, but maybe wanting to have equity within the bloodline. And Roman saying like that the guys, the twins, are his main men, probably does set a type of way with him just because Jacob is taking direct orders from the tribal chief and only the tribal chief. So much so that he pulled out of his attack on Solo. And it reminds me of Solo back in the day when he would order Solo to do the hits. But Roman says enough. Jacob stops immediately. LA Knight hits the scene. LA Knight hits the ring, takes out the Usos. He attacks LA Knight, Jacob does. And then Roman stops Jacob right away and says, like, yo, like, no, I told you, don't touch him. This is me. Then Roman gets a leg up for a minute. Solo they look to make Solo do the hit since he's back in the bloodline now. Those are the rules in the match from last week, that you acknowledge the tribal chief, you're back in the family. You lost. He turns and hits the Samoan spike on Roman. Big shocker. LA Knight gets the upper hand again, and then eventually hits Roman with a blood force trauma as well. Very weird for a number of reasons, because I think it insults the integrity of you lost a match. Because let's be honest, we've seen Solo lose tribal combat. You forfeit the Ulafala. You're not the tribal chief. He goes and creates his own family. You lose to Jay. You agree to rejoin the family if you lose. He's bucking that trend and saying, like, I'm not joining the family. So what are the consequences of that? Because if we really want to believe the bloodline is like blood oath and you're supposed to uphold this like sacred code, what are the consequences of that? And you heard Roman say, like, what would your father be saying right now, looking at your brothers do what they're supposed to do when you're not? Father's being Rikishi. So are we going to see a visit from the elders and saying, like, Solo, you need to obey your tribal chief? Or are we not going to get that? We on SmackDown on Fridays, we now have Haku back on television, ordering his sons, Tama and Tala, to be more aggressive. They're now the World Tag Team Champions. So what are the consequences of Solo disobeying the tribal chief? It's just going to lead to another match, because you saw Jacob pretty much stayed locked up, listened to the tribal chief. He told him not to jump. He didn't jump. He did what he was told to do. Usos got attacked. Roman got attacked. LA Knight gets the upper hand, and they're both looking at Jacob like, all right, you really not going to do nothing? Okay, we going to dip. And you see as they leave, Solo says, hey, thank you. I owe you. And LA Knight says, well, no, I got you. Like, I owe you. And they pound up. Very weird Monday Night Raw. For fans that love this new Solo Dolo, you probably love it, but I'm looking at it more logistically, thinking like, what are the consequences and what's going to happen next as we continue this storyline with getting the family back together. And that's where I'm like perplexed, because why do we do a match with those stipulations if that's not how we're going to adhere to those stipulations? What does this mean for Solo? What does this mean for LA Knight, who is next up for a title shot? We'll have to see. But it leads us to see more of this Bloodline saga instead of just having a Bloodline run roughshod over Monday Night Raw, which the Vision claimed that they run Monday Night Raw. I would argue that it's still the Bloodline until proven otherwise. And Sindel says, let's be honest, the storyline straight out of ChatGPT. Probably right. And Lynette says, all I'm going to say is, since Saturday night's main event, Liv's not defending her title, it's on the way. It's on the way for sure. I expect Raquel to defend her title in another week or two, or probably at Sunday night's main event against Soul. And I expect Lyra to interfere in that match in some form or fashion. It'll be Sunday night's main event, which we know will be headlined by Obafemi as well as Braun Breaker. They also have the artwork out there, Trick Williams and Lil Yachty saying Atlanta's doing it their way. So I expect Trick to be in the rematch against Baron Corbin that night, possibly with Carmelo Hayes in the match as well, do a triple threat. I know next week we'll get on Monday Night Raw. We should get the fallout of all of this. Monday Night Raw next week will be, 2 hours earlier, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time, I think, because there's a double taping or something of that nature. So Raw will be earlier. Some of the action has already come out of what we're going to see next week. Of course, the number one contendership tournament, and obviously the fallout with all this Bloodline stuff. So I'm excited to see what continues to happen. But I can honestly say this summer, in-ring wise, has been one of the best Monday Night Raws I've seen. So go check it out if you haven't seen it. And then just keep it locked in with us all week. We're going to have your content. Of course, we're going to have Kesh with NXT tomorrow night, Courtney with AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, as well as TNA on Thursday, the K-Fabers on Thursday as well, and the Honey Night Watch Along on Friday for SmackDown. And of course, we have WWT Live coming on Wednesday and Thursday. And I believe we have our interviews cycling every 24 hours. Make sure you check those things out as well. On top of that, I believe there's a couple things I'll be attending. I might try to get to Sunday night's main event in Atlanta. There is a Nah or Never here in Ontario. I believe it's a sketch comedy type of wrestling. I think Caleb Becker's going to be there, as well as I think I saw Dean Malenko, D'Lo Brown at the Ontario Improv. So you might, if you're in Ontario, you might see me up there getting content of that. And yes, before I get up out of here, my take on the Shinsuke thing. One, love it. Don't really like Shinsuke being in the tag team title picture, but they've been teasing the Shinsuke versus Tama thing for so long. I'm glad there's some type of payoff. And I think they're teasing Hiromi, who is a free agent, to actually be debuting. I think it's already been debunked with some of the wording Shinsuke's used. Calling him a ticking time bomb. That was like a moniker in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if it is that, I am excited to see Shinsuke kind of do his thing, kind of be remembered. Like, it's because we're going to be featuring all these old guys, man. And literally everybody in the top of the card is older. Why can't Shinsuke? Why not? Why can't Shinsuke get some singles matches? So if he come back with the homie, I'd love to see it. But if not, part of me feels like it's not going to be if I'm saying his name wrong, if it's Hiromi, part of me feel like it's not going to be, because that's just debuting him right on main roster. It might be Ilya. We ain't doing nothing with Ilya. It might be Ilya too. So I wouldn't be mad at that, but I'm happy that we're getting weekly Shinsuke vignettes as one of my favorite wrestlers, and I'm happy that he'll be in a meaningful part of the SmackDown program, because there's a lot of space to fill on SmackDown, and I think that's a storyline you can get behind with the history of him and Tama dating back to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And again, tap on all our shows this week. I might be at the Improv tomorrow, getting some content for y'all. I'm going to try to heal this cold so I can try to get with y'all either on Wednesday or Friday. We'll see. My voice is fading as the time progresses. But you can check me out on the socials at Said Is The Answer across all platforms except Twitter. On Twitter, that is Said Says, CEWD_SAYS. Do me a solid. Normally, I don't like to be found. Go run that YouTube up. Hit like and subscribe on that YouTube channel. Trying to get better at posting coverage of where I'm at, posting all my shorts and interviews. I'd appreciate it if you guys can support me there. But until the mayor is back, I want y'all to be safe, have a good night, and really go check out those matches because all those matches are dope. And, of course, lock in with everybody else here on Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling platform on the planet. Good night, y'all.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.